the shadows of ancient history lies a discovery that shakes the very foundations of human civilization. Deep within the Ethiopian highlands, preserved through centuries in the Orthodox tradition, a manuscript tells a story so profound it was deliberately excluded from most biblical canons. The Book of Enoch, dating back to times before the Great Flood, reveals a chilling truth about humanity's first encounter with divine knowledge. As archaeologists continue to uncover inexplicable architectural marvels across the globe, from the precise astronomical alignments of the Great Pyramid to the impossibly perfect stone fitting of Machu Picchu, one question emerges: how did ancient civilizations possess such advanced understanding? The answer, hidden in Enoch's weathered pages, speaks of beings known as the Watchers, heavenly entities whose actions would forever alter the course of human history. Let us begin this journey into a forbidden chapter of humanity's past. The Book of Enoch, written in ancient Aramaic and Ge'ez, presents a narrative that traditional religious texts only hint at in passing. Within its pages we find detailed accounts of the Watchers, celestial beings tasked with observing humanity's development in its earliest days. These weren't mere passive observers. They were guardians of divine order, positioned between heaven and earth. The manuscript describes these beings with striking detail, towering figures of light, possessing wisdom that spanned millennia. Their original mission, as recorded by Enoch, was to guide and protect humanity while maintaining the delicate balance between divine and mortal realms. They held knowledge of creation's deepest mysteries, from the movements of celestial bodies to the hidden properties of elements. What makes this account particularly compelling is its preservation in multiple ancient sources. References to these beings appear not only in Ethiopian Orthodox texts but also in Dead Sea Scrolls and fragments of ancient Jewish literature. Each source adds layers of verification to this extraordinary narrative, painting a consistent picture of these celestial observers and their fateful interaction with humanity. What constitutes forbidden knowledge? This profound question lies at the heart of the Enoch narrative. According to ancient texts, certain divine wisdom was deemed too powerful for human possession, not because humanity lacked the capacity to understand it, but because of the moral implications its possession would bring. The Book of Enoch presents a compelling dilemma. Knowledge itself is neutral, but its application can lead to either creation or destruction. The text speaks of divine secrets ranging from metallurgy to astronomical calculations, from healing arts to the manipulation of natural elements. These weren't simple skills, but fundamental understandings that could alter the fabric of human society. This raises the essential question that echoes through time. Why would knowledge gifted from divine beings lead to humanity's downfall? The answer, as we shall see, lies not in the knowledge itself, but in humanity's readiness to wield such power responsibly. In ancient sacred texts, the Watchers were described as beings of extraordinary distinction within the celestial hierarchy. Their appointed role was precisely defined to observe humanity's development while maintaining the sacred boundaries between divine and mortal realms. These beings possessed profound understanding of both heavenly and earthly matters, serving as guardians of cosmic order. The texts describe their original duties in detail. They were to watch over human development, record the progress of civilizations, and ensure the natural order remained undisturbed. Each Watcher was assigned specific territories and responsibilities, creating a comprehensive network of divine observation across the ancient world. Most significantly, they were entrusted with preserving the delicate balance of knowledge, understanding which divine wisdom could be shared with humanity, and which must remain concealed for the protection of both realms. Among the Watchers, Sajaza held a position of particular prominence. The ancient texts describe him as a being of exceptional wisdom and charisma, trusted with overseeing vast regions of the ancient world. His understanding of divine mysteries surpassed that of his peers, and his influence among the Watchers was unmatched. Yet, as Enoch records, Sajaza began to question the established order. His observations of humanity stirred something unprecedented within him, a deep fascination with human potential and an increasing doubt about the wisdom of withholding divine knowledge. In private councils with his closest allies, he argued that humanity's progress was being unnecessarily constrained. The texts detail the gradual transformation of Sajaza's perspective. What began as philosophical questioning evolved into active dissent. He gathered around him 200 like-minded watchers who shared his growing conviction that humanity deserved access to celestial wisdom. Their discussions moved from theoretical debate to plans for direct intervention. This internal conflict among the watchers created a profound schism. Those who remained loyal to their original mandate warned of catastrophic consequences, citing the divine wisdom behind these established boundaries. But Sajaza's eloquence and conviction proved persuasive, and his followers grew increasingly determined to share their knowledge with humanity, despite the explicit prohibitions against such actions. The Book of Enoch records a profound transgression that forever altered the relationship between divine and mortal realms. The Watchers, led by Sajaza, did not merely share knowledge. They formed deep personal bonds with humanity through marriage with mortal women. These unions marked an irreversible breach of divine law. The ancient text describes how these celestial beings, despite their sacred duties, became increasingly drawn to the daughters of men, noting their grace and beauty. This attraction transcended mere physical desire. It represented a fundamental shift in how the Watchers viewed their relationship with humanity. The consequences of these unions were immediate and far-reaching. The offspring of these marriages, described in ancient texts as people of extraordinary stature and ability, possessed understanding that bridged both celestial and mortal realms. Their very existence challenged the established order of creation. More significantly, these marriages created intimate bonds that deeply influenced the Watchers' subsequent actions. Their commitment to sharing forbidden knowledge became intensely personal, driven not just by philosophical conviction but by deep emotional attachment to their mortal families. The Book of Enoch details how the Watchers first introduced humanity to the sophisticated arts of metallurgy. According to the ancient text, Azazel, one of Sajaza's most trusted allies, took the lead in teaching humans the secrets of mining, smelting, and forging metals. This knowledge transformed human civilization fundamentally and irreversibly. The transfer of metallurgical knowledge began with basic techniques of identifying and extracting ore from the earth. The Watchers taught humans to recognize different metals, understand their properties, and develop methods for purifying them. This knowledge quickly evolved from creating simple tools to crafting increasingly sophisticated implements. Most significantly, the texts describe how this knowledge led to the development of weapons. Humans learned to forge bronze and iron into swords, spears, and shields. The Watchers taught techniques for hardening metal, creating alloys, and crafting weapons of unprecedented effectiveness. This knowledge, combined with instruction in combat techniques, introduced warfare on a scale previously unknown. The consequences of this knowledge transfer were profound. Communities that mastered these techniques gained immediate advantages over their neighbors. What began as defensive capabilities soon transformed into tools of conquest and domination. The text describes how peaceful settlements became fortified cities, and disputes that once ended in reconciliation now concluded in bloodshed. The Book of Enoch describes a second category of forbidden knowledge: the arts of enchantment and natural manipulation. According to the ancient text, the Watcher named Barakiel became the primary teacher of these arts, introducing humanity to methods of understanding and influencing the natural world in profound ways. This knowledge encompassed the properties of plants, minerals, and natural elements. The text details how humans learned to identify herbs with healing properties, understand the cycles of nature, and recognize patterns in the natural world. The Watchers taught the preparation of medicines and remedies, sharing wisdom about the healing properties inherent in creation. However, this knowledge extended beyond simple healing arts. The texts describe how humans learned to create powerful compounds and mixtures, understanding the subtle interactions between different natural elements. They gained insight into the hidden properties of stones and crystals, learning to harness their natural energies for various purposes. The consequences of this knowledge proved particularly complex. While it enabled remarkable advances in healing and agriculture, it also led to the development of substances that could harm as well as heal. The text notes how this understanding of nature's secrets fostered a dangerous pride among its practitioners, who began to view themselves as masters rather than stewards of the natural world. The Book of Enoch reveals that perhaps the most profound knowledge shared by the Watchers concerned the mysteries of the celestial realm. The text identifies Kokobel as the primary instructor of these arts, teaching humanity to read the patterns of stars and understand the movements of heavenly bodies. This celestial knowledge began with practical applications. The Watchers taught humans to track seasonal changes through stellar movements, enabling more precise agricultural planning and navigation. They shared understanding of lunar cycles, solar patterns, and the regular movements of celestial bodies, knowledge that proved invaluable for early civilizations. The instruction progressed to more complex interpretations. Humans learned to recognize celestial configurations and their relationships to earthly events. The Watchers revealed methods for predicting astronomical events, understanding weather patterns, and measuring time with unprecedented precision. This knowledge transformed human society's relationship with time and seasons. However, the texts warn that this knowledge led humanity beyond mere practical application. People began attempting to divine future events through celestial observations, seeking to understand and potentially influence their destinies through the stars. This pursuit represented a fundamental shift in humanity's worldview, as people increasingly looked to the heavens for guidance rather than divine wisdom. The consequences of this astronomical knowledge proved particularly significant. While it advanced human understanding and improved practical aspects of life, it also fostered a dangerous presumption. Humans began to view themselves as interpreters of celestial destiny, challenging the established order of divine guidance. The text describes how this knowledge led to the rise of practices that attempted to transcend the proper boundaries between mortal understanding and divine mystery. The Book of Enoch describes a profound transformation in human society following the sharing of forbidden knowledge. Ancient settlements, once characterized by simplicity and communal harmony, underwent dramatic changes that reshaped the very fabric of civilization. The immediate impact manifested in the physical structure of communities. Villages that had existed as open settlements began to transform into fortified cities. The texts detail how communities, armed with new metallurgical knowledge, erected walls and watchtowers. Centers of learning emerged where the Watchers' knowledge was preserved and transmitted, creating new social hierarchies based on access to this wisdom. Social relationships underwent equally significant changes. The traditional wisdom passed down through generations gave way to new systems of knowledge. Those who mastered the forbidden arts gained unprecedented influence, leading to the emergence of new power structures. The text describes how priests who once served as spiritual guides found themselves competing with those who claimed authority through their mastery of celestial observations and natural forces. Most significantly, the relationship between communities transformed. Where disputes had once been resolved through elder councils and established customs, the possession of superior weapons and knowledge led to new forms of conflict resolution. The text notes how the balance of power shifted dramatically, favoring those communities that most fully embraced and implemented the Watchers' teachings. Trade networks expanded and became more complex as communities exchanged not just goods, but knowledge. This led to rapid advancement, but also to increasing competition and suspicion between different groups. The simple trust that had characterized early human interactions gave way to strategic alliances and calculated exchanges. The Book of Enoch documents the gradual moral decay that followed the dissemination of forbidden knowledge. This corruption manifested not as a sudden collapse, but rather as a progressive deterioration of the values and principles that had previously guided human society. According to the ancient text, the first signs of corruption appeared in the changing nature of human aspirations. Where people had once sought wisdom for the betterment of their communities, they now pursued knowledge as a means of gaining personal power and advantage. The sacred understanding of natural forces, intended for healing and growth, became tools for dominance and manipulation. The corruption spread through the education of successive generations. The offspring of the Watchers and mortals, possessing extraordinary capabilities, established themselves as rulers and teachers. They passed on not just the knowledge but also their pride and ambition, creating a cycle of increasing moral decline. The text describes how these leaders began to demand worship and submission, setting themselves up as divine authorities. Perhaps most troubling was the transformation of human relationships with the divine. The direct transmission of celestial knowledge led people to believe they could bypass traditional paths of spiritual wisdom. Prayer and contemplation were replaced by attempts to control and manipulate natural and spiritual forces. The text records how humans began to view themselves not as stewards of creation, but as its masters. This spiritual arrogance manifested in increasingly destructive behavior. Communities that had once lived in harmony with their environment began to exploit it without regard for consequences. The sacred boundaries between divine and mortal realms, established for humanity's protection, were deliberately transgressed in pursuit of power. The Book of Enoch describes how the divine realm observed humanity's descent into corruption with mounting concern. The text reveals that the consequences of sharing forbidden knowledge had far exceeded even the Watchers' expectations, leading to a crisis that demanded divine intervention. According to the ancient manuscript, the first divine response came in the form of warnings. Signs appeared in nature: unusual weather patterns, failed harvests, and disturbances in the natural order. These warnings, however, went unheeded as humanity, emboldened by their new knowledge, believed they could overcome any challenge through their acquired skills. The text describes how the situation reached a critical point when human violence and corruption began to threaten the very foundation of creation. The divine realm received reports of unprecedented bloodshed, the perversion of natural laws, and attempts to gain even greater forbidden knowledge. The offspring of the Watchers had become particularly problematic, using their extraordinary abilities to dominate and oppress others. The Divine Council, as recorded in the text, convened to address this crisis. The faithful angels presented evidence of humanity's corruption and the Watchers' transgression. The council concluded that the situation had become untenable. The balance between divine and mortal realms had been irreparably damaged, requiring decisive action to restore order. The text relates how this deliberation led to a profound decision. The current state of creation could not be allowed to continue. The corruption had spread too deeply. The knowledge had been too thoroughly integrated into human society, and the boundaries between divine and mortal had been too severely breached. The Book of Enoch provides a detailed account of how the proliferation of weapon-making knowledge led to unprecedented violence across the ancient world. The text describes a dramatic escalation of conflict that transformed human society fundamentally. According to the ancient manuscript, the introduction of sophisticated metallurgy and advanced weaponry altered the nature of human conflict. What had once been limited territorial disputes evolved into organized warfare. Communities that mastered these new weapons began systematic campaigns of conquest, leading to the first emergence of military empires. The text particularly emphasizes the role of the Watchers' offspring in this escalation. These individuals, possessing extraordinary physical capabilities and advanced knowledge, became military leaders who introduced new tactics and strategies of warfare. Under their leadership, armies became more organized and conflicts more devastating. The manuscript details how this military knowledge spread rapidly across regions. Communities faced a stark choice: either adopt these new weapons and tactics or face subjugation. This led to an arms race, with each group seeking to surpass others in military capability. The peaceful resolution of disputes became increasingly rare as societies began to rely on force to settle differences. The corruption of military knowledge manifested most tragically in how it changed human values. The text describes how martial prowess became celebrated above wisdom, and military leaders gained unprecedented social status. Violence, once viewed as a last resort, became an accepted first response to conflict. The Book of Enoch chronicles how the proliferation of forbidden knowledge led to a profound deterioration of moral values within human society. According to the ancient text, this decay manifested through increasingly destructive behavior patterns that spread through communities like a contagion. The manuscript details how the traditional values that had sustained societies began to erode. Respect for elders and established wisdom diminished as those who possessed the new knowledge claimed positions of authority. The text describes how the counsel of experienced leaders was increasingly disregarded in favor of those who demonstrated mastery over the forbidden arts. Family structures, once the cornerstone of society, began to fragment. The offspring of the Watchers, commanding significant influence, established new social hierarchies based on power rather than wisdom or virtue. The manuscript records how these individuals often demanded tribute and submission from their communities, replacing mutual respect with relationships of dominance and subservience. Most significantly, the text describes how spiritual practices became corrupted. Traditional forms of worship and communion with the divine were abandoned in favor of attempts to manipulate supernatural forces. Priests and spiritual leaders who maintained traditional practices found themselves marginalized by those who promised immediate power through forbidden knowledge. The ancient document emphasizes how this moral decline accelerated as each generation became further removed from traditional wisdom, creating a cycle of increasing corruption that threatened the very foundations of human society. The Book of Enoch records how the misuse of forbidden knowledge disrupted the natural order. According to the ancient text, humanity's attempt to control and manipulate natural forces led to severe consequences that affected the entire created world. The manuscript describes how the exploitation of natural resources intensified as humans applied their newfound knowledge. Communities that had traditionally lived in harmony with their environment began extracting materials at an unprecedented rate to fuel their metallurgical pursuits. The text notes how forests were cleared and mountains hollowed in the quest for metals and minerals. These activities, the document explains, disrupted the delicate balance of nature. The ancient text details how seasons became less predictable, crops failed more frequently, and previously fertile lands began to show signs of deterioration. The manipulation of natural forces through forbidden practices further destabilized this balance. The text emphasizes how this environmental degradation created a cycle of increasing desperation. As resources became scarcer, conflicts intensified, leading to further exploitation of the natural world. This pattern, according to the manuscript, demonstrated how the misuse of knowledge could threaten the very foundations of human survival. The Book of Enoch describes a profound confrontation in the celestial realm as the consequences of the Watchers' actions reached their apex. According to the ancient manuscript, the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel were tasked with addressing the crisis that had emerged on earth. The text details how these archangels first presented their observations before the divine council. They brought evidence of the widespread corruption that had overtaken human society, the environmental devastation that threatened creation's balance, and the continuing influence of the rebellious Watchers. The council's deliberation concluded with a decisive mandate for intervention. The manuscript records how the archangels implemented their divine mandate with precise and measured actions. Their first task involved confronting the Watchers who had initiated this crisis. The text describes how these once mighty beings, who had acted with such apparent authority in sharing forbidden knowledge, found themselves facing the consequences of their transgressions. According to the ancient document, the archangels' intervention focused on containing the damage and preventing further corruption. The Watchers were separated from their mortal families and removed from their positions of influence. Their ability to continue sharing forbidden knowledge was permanently restricted through divine decree. The text emphasizes the solemnity of this intervention. These actions were not undertaken with vengeance, but with the gravity appropriate to maintaining cosmic order. The archangels acted as instruments of divine justice, ensuring that the boundaries between celestial and mortal realms would be restored and preserved. The Book of Enoch presents the Great Flood as the ultimate divine response to the corruption that had overtaken the world. The ancient text describes this event not merely as a natural disaster, but as a carefully orchestrated cleansing of creation. According to the manuscript, the divine council determined that the corruption stemming from forbidden knowledge had become too deeply embedded in human society to be addressed through lesser measures. The text details how this decision emerged from thorough deliberation, acknowledging that such dramatic intervention would fundamentally alter the course of human history. The ancient document describes the methodical preparation for this event. Signs and warnings preceded the flood, offering humanity opportunities for repentance and correction. These warnings manifested through environmental changes and through the words of those who maintained their connection to divine wisdom. However, the text notes that these warnings went largely unheeded, as people remained convinced of their ability to overcome any challenge through their acquired knowledge. The manuscript details the flood's implementation with particular gravity. The event began not as a sudden catastrophe, but as a gradual yet inexorable process. The text describes how the natural order, already destabilized by human manipulation, began to shift more dramatically. Waters rose from beneath the earth while unprecedented rains fell from above, overwhelming all human attempts to resist through technological means. The document emphasizes that this event served multiple purposes: eliminating the corruption that had overtaken the world, removing the influence of forbidden knowledge, and most importantly, establishing a new beginning for humanity, one that would restore proper boundaries between divine and mortal realms. The Book of Enoch presents Noah as a figure of profound significance in the divine plan for humanity's renewal. According to the ancient text, Noah's selection was not arbitrary, but based on his adherence to traditional wisdom and resistance to the corrupting influence of forbidden knowledge. The manuscript describes Noah's preparation for the coming transformation with particular attention to detail. Under divine guidance, he preserved not only his family, but also the essential knowledge that humanity would need to rebuild. Knowledge that aligned with divine wisdom rather than forbidden teachings. The text emphasizes that this preserved knowledge focused on living in harmony with creation rather than attempting to dominate it. The document details how Noah's family emerged from the flood, carrying a renewed understanding of humanity's proper relationship with divine wisdom. This new beginning established clear boundaries around knowledge, emphasizing the importance of using understanding for the benefit of community rather than personal power. The text concludes this section by describing how Noah's descendants were given specific instructions about maintaining proper relationships with divine wisdom, ensuring that humanity would rebuild on a foundation of appropriate knowledge and understanding. The Book of Enoch presents several enduring lessons through its account of the Watchers and forbidden knowledge. The ancient text's relevance extends beyond its historical context, offering insights into the relationship between knowledge, power, and moral responsibility. The manuscript emphasizes how the pursuit of knowledge, when divorced from wisdom and ethical considerations, leads to destructive consequences. This lesson emerges clearly through the account of how advanced understanding, improperly applied, transformed peaceful communities into centers of conflict and corruption. The text particularly highlights the importance of maintaining appropriate boundaries in the pursuit of knowledge. Through its detailed account of the Watcher's transgression, the document demonstrates how exceeding established limits, even with benevolent intentions, can initiate a cascade of unintended consequences that affect entire societies. The ancient record also underscores the critical relationship between knowledge and responsibility. The account shows how the possession of advanced understanding without corresponding moral development inevitably leads to misuse and corruption. This lesson remains particularly relevant as human societies continue to grapple with the ethical implications of advancing knowledge. The Book of Enoch's narrative holds striking parallels with contemporary challenges facing human society. The ancient text's insights into the relationship between knowledge, power, and responsibility remain remarkably relevant to modern ethical discussions. In today's context, the story of the Watchers resonates particularly strongly in discussions of technological advancement and environmental stewardship. The manuscript's warning about the consequences of pursuing knowledge without adequate ethical frameworks speaks directly to current debates about the development and implementation of powerful new technologies. The text's emphasis on the importance of maintaining appropriate boundaries provides valuable perspective for contemporary discussions about the limits of human intervention in natural systems. The ancient document's insights into how knowledge affects social structures also illuminate current trends. Just as the Watcher's teachings transformed ancient communities, modern technological advances continue to reshape social hierarchies and power relationships. The text's warning about how knowledge can concentrate power in the hands of a few while potentially undermining traditional social bonds mirrors contemporary concerns about technological inequality and social fragmentation. Environmental considerations particularly exemplify the text's continued relevance. The ancient manuscript's description of how the misuse of knowledge led to environmental degradation parallels modern challenges of climate change and resource depletion. The text's emphasis on the importance of maintaining harmony with natural systems, rather than attempting to dominate them, speaks directly to current environmental discussions. The manuscript's insights into the relationship between knowledge and moral development remain especially pertinent. As modern society continues to develop increasingly powerful technologies, the ancient text's warning about the necessity of corresponding ethical advancement provides crucial perspective for contemporary decision-making. The Book of Enoch concludes its narrative with enduring messages about the proper relationship between humanity and knowledge. The ancient text articulates principles that remain vital for guiding future development and decision-making. The manuscript emphasizes that true wisdom lies not in the mere accumulation of knowledge, but in understanding its proper application. It establishes that advancement must be guided by ethical considerations and a clear sense of responsibility to both community and environment. The text particularly stresses that knowledge should serve to unite and elevate communities rather than create divisions or concentrate power. The document provides specific guidance about maintaining appropriate boundaries in the pursuit of understanding. It advocates for an approach to knowledge that respects natural limits and preserves essential balances within human society. This guidance particularly emphasizes the importance of preserving traditional wisdom while embracing appropriate advancement. The text concludes by asserting that humanity's future depends not merely on what we know, but on how we apply that knowledge. It calls for a balanced approach that combines technological advancement with moral development, environmental stewardship, and social responsibility. Thank you for joining us on this profound exploration of the Book of Enoch and its timeless wisdom. If you found value in these ancient insights about knowledge, power, and responsibility, please take a moment to support our work by subscribing to Deep Bible Stories. Your subscription helps us continue bringing these important historical texts and their modern relevance to light. Share this video with friends and family who might benefit from understanding these enduring principles about the proper use of knowledge and power. Your sharing enables these crucial messages to reach those who seek deeper understanding of our relationship with wisdom and progress. We invite you to join the discussion in the comments below. What parallels do you see between this ancient narrative and our modern challenges? How do you think we should balance advancement with responsibility? Your thoughts and perspectives enrich our collective understanding. Remember to press the like button if you appreciate this content. It helps others discover these important messages and supports our continuing work in exploring ancient wisdom.